Alright, hey, welcome back to ArchiHacks. And today's episode, we're going to talk about the costs involved in becoming an architect. And there might be a lot of surprises actually. I think most people commonly talk about the big items such as equipments like laptop and tuition costs, but there's actually a lot of hidden fees that most people don't talk about. So let's try to go over everything in this video. Stay tuned. Hey, welcome back guys, my name is Ben. I'm an ex-Big and OMA employee, now creating contents for young architects and students so that they can navigate their careers better. So in today's video, as mentioned earlier, we're going to talk about the costs involved in becoming a fully licensed architect. I think the number one thing that we have to keep in mind is that this is going to be different for everyone. And depending on where you're from and the kind of education that you're getting, the cost is going to vary drastically. So keep this as a grain of salt. And today's video is going to be centered around Canadian standards because our team is from Canada. So keep that in mind as you go along. So the first item on the list is degree. So let's take a step back and think about how much education you need in order to become eligible to apply for architecture licensure. In countries like Canada, you not only need bachelor's but also master's. If you graduate from a degree program in America, I know you should be able to start racking up hours for your AIA exam. But in Canada, you really can't do that until you get your master's degree. So keep this in mind and plan and budget accordingly. And another thing is, if you decide to study abroad or become an international student, Canadian universities charge 2 to 4 times more than regular domestic students. So it's going to be drastically more expensive. And this is probably going to be the bulk of the cost, especially when you're studying abroad. It might cost you extra in terms of living expense as well as rent. So put those into account as well. And this is going to be the biggest item on the list. So once you hash this out, you are probably, let's say, 50% there. But let's talk about the next point. Another big item that kind of came to me as a surprise was that the architecture education requires a lot of material costs that is not commonly found on the paper. So let's say, for example, you might have to buy an expensive laptop. That's going to cost you quite a lot. We have a video on that separately, so if you want to check out which laptops to buy, make sure to check out that video. Link will be in the description. So laptop's a big one, but the other thing is textbook costs as well as material costs when you're building models. So a couple ways to save on this front is by buying books that are already used by, say, upper year students, and for materials for models, maybe you can use some common household items that you can find more affordably than just high-grade plexi or basswood. And when it comes to things like laser cutting or 3D printing costs, those might be a little bit unavoidable, but always put your design in priority and make sure to get the best material for your. So you might have to negotiate whether to use the best material available or sort of compromise to use something more affordable but still gets the job done. So maybe for your intermediate model, not the final one, maybe it's worth using slightly cheaper and affordable material so that you can iterate more quickly, and this could actually benefit your design process as well. Oh yeah, and make sure to ask for student discounts when you're buying materials or printing. And a lot of students in America tends to have study abroad program. So for my school, for example, I went to the University of Waterloo, where we had a term in Rome. And it turns out many schools do this too. It's a bit of like a holy grail for architecture undergrad program, it feels like. And you kind of have to do this. And generally, everyone ends up taking this term. I know this looks really nice on paper, but this is gonna set back a lot of money. Like having to consider things like flying, the living cost, as well as tuition and all the traveling cost. It's gonna set you back quite a bit. So make sure to put this into consideration when you're planning for the future. One way to save on this front is by applying for scholarships. So make sure to take advantage of what's available at your school and even look out into your local support groups. And there are various organizations that give out scholarships for this kind of purpose. So make sure to look into those and apply to them if you can. Okay, and this is the last item on our list, which is obtaining your license. So obtaining license isn't as straightforward as it sounds. You have to gather thousands of accredited hours, And then once you have that, you have to start studying for the exam. So that entails things like exam cost, as well as a study material, and all kinds of fees involved afterwards as well. A lot of exams entail some sort of costs, so make sure to keep those in mind. But if you're actually working at a company, there might be a lot of programs that actually reimburse you on that front, as well as you can also put some of these into tax returns. See if your company or your country supports this kind of program, and make sure to apply to them accordingly. Okay, that's been quite a big list, and I know over the years you might rack up quite a bit of student loan or spend a lot of savings, but hopefully it'll be all worth it in the end. This video isn't to discourage you, but to give you a little bit more of a foresight into what to expect in the future, so that you can prepare better and you won't be surprised later down the road. So maybe you can start considering in ways you can actually support that. That can come in the form of picking up some part-time jobs, doing some internship, and applying for bursaries and scholarships. So what did you think about this list? Did we miss anything? If there's anything that we missed, let us know down in the comments. We would love to hear more. ArchiHacks is all about helping out young professionals and students. So if you want to see more helpful videos like this one, make sure to hit subscribe and you'll see more videos in your feed. We also put out regular articles with more details, so if you want to learn more about it, make sure to subscribe to our newsletter and check out the blogs on the link in the description. Thanks for tuning in today, and I'll see you guys next time.